Suddenly, a screaming woman blocked the moving truck with her body. "You're violating HOA bylaws," she shrieked, clutching a clipboard like it was a weapon. Everyone froze. I was just trying to move out, but now a mob of nosy neighbors and one red-faced woman with a phone glued to her ear surrounded me. Then it got worse. Much worse. Just as she yelled, "I'm calling the cops," 30 off-duty FBI trainees on a nearby team-building retreat looked up. The silence was immediate. The tension? Nuclear. One trainee stepped forward. "Put the phone down." What happened next? No one was ready for it. Not her, not the cops, and definitely not me. The trainee didn't raise his voice, but the calm steel in his tone was enough to make Karen flinch. She clutched her phone tighter, now trembling. "He's breaking the rules. The HOA prohibits weekday moves. He's endangering the community," she stammered, trying to project authority, but the moment had already slipped away from her. Every FBI trainee in the park across the street had turned their attention. They weren't just watching. They were assessing body language, speech patterns, intent. Dud. One of them murmured, "Is this real life?" Another pulled out his phone. Not to call anyone, but to record. The atmosphere shifted. The HOA queen had just walked into a pressure cooker without realizing Edie stood near the back of the U-Haul. Box in hand, heart pounding. I wasn't doing anything illegal, just moving. Just escaping a neighborhood where monthly fees had turned into monthly harassment. But now, I was the center of a confrontation I hadn't asked for. The woman, real name Cynthia Whitmore, self-declared compliance enforcer of the HOAs, stormed toward the FBI trainee who had spoken. "You back off. This is private property," she snapped. The trainee, early 30s, crew cut black. Under Armour shirt didn't budge. "Ma'am," he said again, "put the phone down. There's no crime occurring here. You're escalating an otherwise peaceful situation." But Cynthia wasn't having it. "Are you even a real officer? I don't care who you think you are. This man is violating Code Section 4B. That's when the second wave hit. A short, burly man from her HOA board jogged up behind her, wheezing from the run. I recognized him, Mr. Halpern, the same guy who once fined me $75 for leaving. "My trash bin's out for an extra 45 minutes? "Don't listen to him," Halpern barked, pointing at the trainee. "They don't live here. This is none of their business. Wrong move." A woman stepped forward from the FBI group. She wore aviators, had a badge clipped to her gym shorts, and carried herself like someone who could disarm a bomb or a lunatic without blinking. "Actually," she said coolly, "it became our business the moment your friend here started filing a false police report and trying to block someone's legal right to move." She turned to me. "You good?" I nodded, barely. Then we heard the distant wail of sirens. Cynthia smirked like she'd won. "Good," she hissed. "They're coming. You'll learn today you can't just ignore the HOA." She crossed, her arms daring the trainees to stop her. But none of them moved. They didn't have to. They were letting her cook in her own chaos. One of the FBI guys quietly spoke into his earpiece. Not a call, a recording note. Documentation. The rest. Watching silent. That kind of silence that builds pressure in the lungs. Like a storm is coming, but no one knows how bad it'll get. Until it lands, the first patrol car rolled in, lights off. Slow, cautious. A local cop stepped out. You could tell from his face he'd expected something else. Not a crowd of trainees, not a neighborhood war zone. Cynthia ran up to him like a stage actor hitting her mark. "Officer, officer, it's not allowed to move. Out. The HOA needs to approve it first. He's breaking protocol." The officer looked past her to me. "Sir, is this your house? You're moving out?" "Yup, my lease is up." I followed every legal step. The officer squinted. "Any restraining orders? Court injunctions? None? Got paperwork?" I pointed to the clipboard on the truck dash. He walked over and flipped through it, then looked back at Cynthia. "This is legal." Cynthia froze. But, the HOA, the officer held up a hand. "IOS aren't law enforcement. They don't override tenant rights. I suggest you stop interfering." The word interfering hit her like a slap. "Are you kidding me?" she yelled. This is harassment against me now. They're all ganging up on me. She pointed at the FBI trainees who still hadn't moved. Not once. Just silent, watching, filming. The officer sighed, pinched the bridge of his nose, and said, "Ma'am, step aside or I'll have to cite you for obstruction." That's when it exploded. I want your badge number," Cynthia shrieked. "All of you. Sue the city. I'll sue the FBI. I'll sue the HOA board if they don't back me up." Even Halpern took a small step back. Now I kept loading the boxes. It was all I could do to stay calm. My wife was in the house finishing the last sweep. She'd seen Cynthia harass us for months, anonymous notes on the porch, courtesy violations, HOA letters threatening liens from microscopic lawn patches. This was the grand finale. She walked out with our cat carrier just as Cynthia tried to lunge for the truck again. That was the final straw. The female trainee and aviators moved. Fast. She got between Cynthia and my wife in half a second. "Back up," she ordered. "You touch her, or that cat, you'll be detained." "You don't scare me," Cynthia screeched. "You people don't belong in this neighborhood. You're all renters." I'm stopped. That word renters, said with venom. Every FBI trainee tensed. One of them whispered to another, "She just made it federal," and she had, because it wasn't about HOA rules anymore, it was discrimination. The officer pulled out his notepad. "Ma'am, I'm now taking an official statement under suspicion of harassment and biospace threats. You have the right to remain silent." Cynthia looked like her soul had left her body. "What?" I was just, "This is your last warning," he said. "Go back inside or you'll be in cuffs." And just like that, she snapped. Full meltdown. Threw her clipboard on the ground, screamed, "This isn't over," and stormed off. Halpern followed, muttering something about reconvening the board. The crowd slowly began to dissolve. Neighbors who'd peeked out from blinds scurried back behind their curtains. The FBI trainees didn't move until the police cleared the scene. One trainee gave me a nod. "You handled that better than most. You good?" I gave a half smile. "I think so. We're just tired. It's been months of this." It's reached into his bag, handed me a card. "If she keeps harassing you, call this number. We're not just trainees. We have pull when things get ugly." I looked down. A Department of Justice logo. I nodded, eyes stinging. Not from fear, but from the release of pressure I hadn't realized I was carrying for months. We pulled out of the driveway 20 minutes later. No more HOA. No more fines for cracked driveway lines or holiday lights left up too long. Just freedom. As we drove past the park, the trainees waved, dozens of them, like a silent honor guard. My wife squeezed my hand. "Think we'll ever hear from her again?" she asked. I looked in the mirror. Cynthia stood at her window, arms crossed, eyes full of fury. "Yeah," I said quietly. "But next time, she won't have the upper hand." We drove for 47 minutes before either of us said a word. The silence wasn't awkward. It was survival. After everything with Cynthia and the HOA nightmare, silence felt like therapy. Our cat curled in its carrier between us, wide-eyed but calm. I glanced at my wife, eyes fixed on the road ahead, hands steady, jaw set. We'd escaped, yes, but it still didn't feel real. Not yet. Then, as we pulled into the long sloped driveway of our new rental, I felt it. Not peace, exactly. Something different. Like the air was waiting for us to notice something we hadn't seen yet. The new place was beautiful. Too beautiful. Tall trees in every yard. Neatly trimmed hedges. No fences. A wide openness that made every house feel connected but exposed. My wife stepped out of the car and took a deep breath. "Fresh air," she whispered. "And no board members lurking behind the azaleas." I gave her a tired smile. The house itself was smaller, older, but charming. Real brick. Wide porch. A lawn that hadn't been obsessively policed. Still, I noticed it right away across the street. A window curtain shifted. Then again, just slightly. My stomach dropped an inchy. Didn't say anything. Just unloaded. 1 box. 2. She carried the cat carrier inside. I followed. The place was quiet, too quiet. Not a single kid outside, no barking dogs, no welcome waves. Just distant wind and the occasional creak of a shutter. After an hour, we had enough. Furniture inside, to sit and breathe. I sank onto the couch, pulled my phone out, checked the signal. 4 bars good, just in case. My wife joined me, eyes still scanning. "You saw it too, didn't you?" she said. I turned the curtain. She nodded. "We're being watched. Not paranoia. Just fact." He stood, crossed to the window, peeked through the blinds. The curtain across the street had settled, but the shape behind it hadn't moved. Whoever it was, they were standing still. Watching, the rest of the house seemed empty. No cars in the driveway, no porch furniture, just that curtain. I grabbed my keys. "I'm going to the store," I said. "We need groceries anyway." She nodded. "Text me if anything feels off." "Aim for you," I said. "Lock the door." She did. I heard it click behind me as I stepped onto the porch. The air had changed again. Go. The store was only 10 minutes away, but the tension followed. At the checkout, the clerk smiled politely. "New in town?" he asked. I nodded. "Just moved in today." "Which street?" "Spring Hill Drive." Smile faded for just a second. "Nice area," he said slowly. Tight-knit, real quiet. I didn't say anything, just nodded again and paid. As I walked out, I heard him murmur to the bagger, "They don't stay long on that side." I froze, turned around. He noticed, quickly changed the subject. "Have a good one," he called out. But the bagger wouldn't meet my eyes. I drove. Back slower, scanning every street. Same thing. Clean yards. Empty porches. Not one person outside. Not even a mail carrier. It was like the neighborhood was preserved, not lived in. As I pulled into the driveway, my wife met me at the door. "Upstairs? Light turned on by itself," she said. "Swear I turned it off." We walked up together. The room was empty. The switch was on. "Maybe we're just jumpy," I said. "Maybe." But her voice wasn't convinced. Neither was mine. We made dinner. Tried to talk about normal things, but our voices felt forced. The silence between sentences was louder than anything else that night. We locked every door and window, double-checked them. Set our phones next to the bed, flashlights within reach, but sleep didn't come easy. Around 1:24 a.m. I heard it. A single, hollow knock on the front door. Then nothing. I froze. Looked at my wife. She was already sitting. Up. We didn't move for 20 minutes. No second knock. No footsteps. Just stillness. At 2:17 a.m., another noise like a slow scrape across the porch. We turned off every light. Stayed silent, listened. After 5 minutes, it stopped. I stepped into the hall. Opened the curtain beside the front door just an inch. No one. Just shadows. Morning came, like it was apologizing. Sunlight through thin blinds. Birds pretending everything was fine, but something had changed. The cat refused to come downstairs. My wife had circles under her eyes. I stepped outside to grab a package and saw it something new. A small, square sticker on our mailbox. White with a red circle and black number. 5. That was it. No brand. No name. I peeled it off, but the sticky residue wouldn't come off. Across the street, the curtain moved again. This time, I stepped off the porch. Walked to the sidewalk. Looked right at the window. Nothing. But I could feel it. Whoever lived or stayed there, they knew I was watching now. I walked down the street. 5 houses down, a woman in gardening gloves stood behind a hedge. She didn't wave, stared. "Morning," I offered. No reply. "We just moved in yesterday. Still nothing." I walked away. 10 steps later, I heard her whisper, "Keep your head down." I turned. She was gone. Vanished behind the hedge. I walked back faster than I meant to. When I returned, there was another sticker on our trash bin, same symbol, same 5. That night, we installed cameras, one for the porch, one in the backyard, and I started documenting everything. The knocks, the stickers, the curtain. By the 3rd day, I found out who owned the house across the street. Public records, it had been vacant for 3 years. Deed hadn't changed. Utilities registered to a company that didn't exist anymore. But someone was in there, watching, moving. At 3:02 a.m. on day 4, the porch camera recorded a shadow moving past the driveway. No face, no ID, just motion. 2 seconds later, the camera cut out. Power still worked. Wi-Fi still up. Only the feed stopped. Restarted 18 minutes later. No explanation. It's when I called the number the FBI trainee gave Mesh answered on. The second ring. "You saved the card," she said. "Tell me everything." I did. All of it. She didn't laugh. Didn't doubt. Just listened. "You need to leave," she said finally. "Now tonight? If you can?" "What?" "Why?" I asked. "Because you're not the first family to move into that house. And the others? They didn't leave. They disappeared." My throat tightened. "What do you mean disappeared?" "I mean vanished. Like they never existed. Paper trail stops cold. No forwarding address. No job transfers. Nothing. And every one of them was assigned a number. Just like that sticker on your mailbox." I whispered, 5. There was a pause. Then she said, "That's bad." "What does it mean?" "We don't know." "But 4 was the last known number. No one's ever been tagged 5 before." I looked out the window again. The curtain wasn't moving now. It was wide open, and there was no one behind it. It's just a dark room with a single chair pointed straight at our house. "I think it's watching us," I said. "Not it," she replied. "Them." And just then, the porch camera lit up motion alert. I opened the feed and froze. Someone was standing at the end of our driveway, still silent, staring straight into the lens. Wearing an old HOA badge, just stared at the porch cam, heart pounding. The image didn't move. A man, maybe mid-50s, salt and pepper beard, HOA badge clipped to his jacket. The logo stood motionless at the end of our driveway. Not on it, not trespassing. But right at the line, like he knew exactly how far he could go. My wife stood behind me, staring at the screen. "Do you recognize him?" I asked. "Never seen him before," she whispered. "But that badge. It looks exactly like Cynthia's." I opened the front curtain just an inch. He was still there, hands at his sides, not blinking. Not leaving, I opened the call with the FBI trainee again. "Still there. He hasn't moved in 5 minutes. Her voice was sharp now. "Don't confront him. Don't speak to him." "You said he's wearing a badge?" "Yeah, old HOA style." There was a long pause. "Okay, this just got bigger." "How?" I asked. "Because that badge design was banned 5 years ago. It's from a dissolved organization, shut down by federal order." "So what is he?" I asked. "I don't know," she said. "But if he hasn't moved yet, he's waiting for something." "Like what?" I asked. "Permission," she said. "They never act alone." The man left exactly 11 minutes later. No sound, no warning. One moment he was there, the next, gone. Not down the street, not behind a bush. Just vanished. We checked the security footage. He didn't walk off screen. He just blinked out. "That's not possible," my wife whispered. "Did the cam glitch?" "No," I said. "The feed's intact. It's like he was removed from the footage." I went outside, looked down the street. Nothing. No footprints. No tire marks. The sticker on our mailbox was gone now. It's peeled off clean, no residue. But the number 5 was scratched faintly into the metal the next morning. A letter arrived. No stamp. No address. Just a single page slipped through the front door. Notice of noncompliance. Unit 5. Unapproved surveillance. Window exposure violation. Neighborhood disturbance. There was no sender, just a signature at the bottom, the board. My hands went cold. "There's no HOA here," I whispered. My wife looked at the letter. "Then who are they?" That's when the power went out. Not a flicker, a hard kill. Silence swept through the house like a vacuum. The thermostat shut down, fridge dead. Phone chargers, useless. "Check the breaker," I said. She did. Nothing tripped. The main line had been cut. They called the electric company. "There's no outage reported in your area," they said. "Your address doesn't even appear on our grid. Are you sure you're connected to municipal power?" My stomach dropped. "Of course we are." "The meter, that's not one of ours," the rep interrupted. I don't know who installed that. It's not on our records. I hung up. My wife said nothing, just pointed. In the backyard, the shed door which we hadn't opened was now wide open. We walked out together, slowly. I had a hammer in my hand, just in case. The shed was empty, but the back wall had carvings in it. 5 tally marks, deep, fresh, like someone had been counting. The nights got worse. No more knocks, just a low hum. We heard it every night after 2 a.m., a pulsing rhythmic sound, like an engine far underground. It vibrated through the walls. Sometimes the lights flickered. Sometimes the cat hissed at empty corners. On day 6, I found another sticker. This time on the underside of our trash bin lid. A different symbol. A triangle with an eye in the center. No number. Just the mark. I scraped it off. Threw the whole bin out. Burned it in the backyard. That night, the humming stopped. But we woke up to find a small pile of ash on our doorstep. A triangle drawn in the center. It's burned into the concrete. I called the trainee again. We're not just being watched, I said. We're being evaluated. Yeah, she said. That's how it starts. They push you. Test your reactions, your tolerance, your mental stability. The other families. Some lasted weeks. Some didn't make it past day 3. You're on day 6. 7 now, I said.
Yes.
With their ad from crapping at for bobbing where we had a buying with Seth Segwim with swear I had so
That depends. On what they think you are? Threat. Recruit. Subject. Subject of what? I asked. A neighborhood experiment that went too far. We've only scratched the surface. We think it started as a surveillance program buried under a housing initiative. How buried? I asked. Congress doesn't even know it exists. She said I started looking for an exit. We tried to break the lease. The realtor's number was disconnected. The management company doesn't exist. Our website now shows a 403 forbidden error. My email to them bounced back with one line in red. You are already within the program boundary. I tried booking a hotel. Every site crashed when I put in our zip code. I called a friend to come pick us up. The line dropped after I gave him the address. 5 minutes later, I got a text from his number. This number has been deactivated. It wasn't a message from him. It was a system response. We tried driving out. Packed the car at 2 a.m. Didn't even take clothes. Just IDs, phones, a few essentials. As soon as we hit the main road, the GPS rerouted us in a loop. 4 lefts. It's back to the same street. We turned the GPS off. Drove. Manually. 10 minutes later, same result. Back at the driveway, the mailbox was gone now. Just a blank pole. The number 5 had been carved into our front door. Deep, jagged, fresh. We stepped inside. Lights on. Cat missing. Everything cold. Then the TV turned on by itself. Black screen. White text. Comprehension phase complete. Subject A. Deviation detected. Phase 2 commencing. My wife broke down, sat on the floor and cried like I'd never seen. We should have just stayed, she whispered. Better the devil we know. I held her, tried to hold myself together. That night the dreams started. Repeating dreams, always the same. Walking through the neighborhood at night. Same houses, same layout, but no sky. Just a ceiling hundreds of feet above, like we were inside a dome. Each dream ended the same way. Me standing in front of our house, Only the number wasn't 5 anymore. It was 6. Every night, the number increased, as if we were being counted. Or rated. Then came the knocking again. But this time, it wasn't on the door. It was from inside the walls. 2 knocks, then silence. A pause, then 3 knocks. Lower, like from the basement. We didn't have a basement. I grabbed the hammer again, found the floor panel near the laundry room that felt hollow. Pulled it up. Beneath it, a ladder, metal, rusted, leading into a narrow concrete shaft. We stared at it for 10 full minutes. Then my phone lit up. Unknown number. 1 word. Descend. I called the FBI trainee again. No answer. Just static. Then a robotic voice. Unit 5 has initiated breach. Observation mode active. The ladder looked older than the house. Rusted metal, bolted deep into the concrete, disappearing into blackness. I leaned closer, phone flashlight trembling in my grip. The air rising from below wasn't just cold. It was dry, processed, like recycled air from a closed system. My wife stood behind me, cat carrier clutched tight, whispering, "This doesn't make sense." "We don't have a basement." "We don't," I replied. "But something does." I lowered my foot onto the first rung. It creaked, then held. I took another step, then another. The black swallowed me like water. My wife followed, reluctantly. One hand gripping my shoulder, one arm wrapped around the carrier. The shaft was silent. No insects, no echoes. Just our breathing and the faint buzz of the phone light. 20 feet down, the ladder ended at a steel hatch. No lock, just a round wheel, like something from a submarine. I turned it. It groaned, opened. The room beyond was a hallway, wide, clean, sterile white lights humming softly overhead, linoleum floor, concrete walls. As we stepped in, the hatch sealed behind us. Automatically, a hiss of air and a mechanical click. Wife gasped. "Did it just lock us in?" I turned the wheel. Wouldn't budge. We walked slowly. The hallway turned right, then again, then opened into a massive circular chamber. 5 doors, each labeled with a number. 1 through 5. Door 5 pulsed red. The others were dark. A monitor above it flickered to life as we stepped near. Black screen. White text. Subjects active. Door access granted. The lock clicked. The door opened. Inside. A replica of our living room. Perfect. Every photo, every mark on the wall. Even the couch cushion I'd accidentally torn 2 days ago. My wife stepped back. "This isn't possible." I reached for the TV remote. The screen turned on by itself. A video began playing. Security footage of us. The kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. Footage from angles that didn't exist in our house. No camera ever placed, but every second recorded. "They've been watching since day 1, I said. "Longer," she replied. She was right. One video showed us before we moved in, looking at houses, in private. Footage from the car. From the motel we stayed in overnight. The system had been tracking us well before we ever signed the lease. Then another clip appeared. The realtor's office. Empty. A man sitting at the desk. Same man from the driveway. Same badge. He looked into the camera. "Unit 5 has arrived." He saw the door in the back of the room opened. We stepped through it and found another hallway. This one was different. The walls were padded, not concrete. The lights dimmer. The floor, a thin black wire, ran along the edge, pulsing faintly. My wife whispered, "They're leading us somewhere." I nodded. We kept walking. The hallway ended in an observation room. Behind the glass, 5 chairs faced a large screen. In each chair, a mannequin, human-sized, wearing clothes, hooded, motionless. On the screen, our house. Live feed. "Don't buy." Room. I leaned in, saw the bedroom, the bathroom, the attic. Then the camera panned to something new. A room beneath the house. Lit now, with another figure in it. US but not us. The figure wore my clothes. Moved like me. Sat in a chair and stared upward, as if looking at us through the monitor. My wife's hand gripped mine. "That's not you," she whispered. "No," I said. "It's a copy." The door behind us slammed shut. The mannequins turned. Not fully, just slightly. Like they were listening. Then the lights died. For a moment, pitch black. Then emergency lights blinked on. Red. Flashing. A siren began to wail low and pulsing, like a heartbeat. A voice came over the speaker system. "Unit 5 has breached. Level 2. Initiating redirect protocol." My phone buzzed. One message. "Do not return to surface." We ran, back through the hall, through the replica living room. But the original hatch was gone. A smooth wall in its place. No seams, no ladder. "We're trapped," my wife said, panic rising. "No," I said, "redirect protocol. That means a new exit." We found another hall, shorter, tighter. As we walked, we passed room slabs, each behind thick glass. One room showed a woman asleep in a chair, wires attached to her scalp. Next room, 2 children drawing the same shape over and over, a triangle with an eye. Room 3, an empty table, but a mirror above it that showed us walking past. Even though we hadn't reached it yet, finally, we reached a door labeled exit. It hissed open before we touched it. Beyond it, a stairwell, endless, cracked tile, rusted rails, at least 10 stories up. At the top, daylight, or something like it. We climbed. The whole way, we heard it movement below. Not footsteps. Crawling, clicking, like something with too many legs. We didn't look back. At the top, a final door, plain steel. One handle. I opened it, and we stepped out into a street. But not our street. Not the one we left. It looked like our neighborhood, but the cars were wrong, too clean, too still. Trees perfectly symmetrical. A child stood at the end of the block, unmoving, staring directly at UC, looked behind us. The door was gone, just a hedge. We were on a new block. Now, every house identical. Mailboxes marked with numbers. But all were blank except one. Ours. Number 6. My wife dropped to her knees. "They didn't let us escape," she whispered. "They just moved us deeper." I heard something then, from inside the house. A phone ringing, same tone as mine, same pattern. I stepped toward it. The door was already unlocked. The living room was waiting. Our furniture, our boxes, our photos, like we'd always lived there. My phone vibrated again. New message. Observation resumed. Subjects accepted into loop. I stood in the doorway of the new house, phone buzzing in my palm, eyes locked on. The message, observation resumed. Subjects accepted into loop. The screen flickered, then locked itself. I couldn't power it down, couldn't screenshot, couldn't call out. I turned to my wife. She hadn't moved. Her eyes scanned the furniture, the walls, the cat carrier placed exactly where we left it 2 houses ago. "It's the same house," she whispered. "Same scuff marks. Same furniture. Even the crooked picture frame we never fixed." She pointed at lean to the left, exactly 12 degrees. I'd measured it before. I didn't respond. I stepped. Inside, everything was perfect. Too perfect. No dust, no variation. Even the bowl of fruit on the kitchen counter was the same. Plastic. Same color pattern. Same bite mark on the fake apple where our nephew once chewed it, thinking it was real. "This isn't just a copy," I said. "It's our house." My wife checked the bedroom. "Even our clothes are here." She held up the sweatshirt. "Lost 2 weeks ago and swore I'd packed. But I didn't," she said. "I never put this in a box." That's when the doorbell rang. Once, a soft, polite chime. We froze eyes, stepped toward the door slowly, phone still in my hand. No message, just silence. I peered through the peephole. No one, but there was something on the mat. A black envelope, no name, no stamp. I opened the door, looked around. Street empty, mailboxes still blank. The child was gone. I picked up the envelope. Heavy paper. Inside, a card. One line. Your presence is required at the board. No address, no time. Just a symbol pressed into the corner, a triangle with an eye, surrounded by 6 lines. I turned the card over. The back had coordinates. I punched the numbers into my phone. They led to a house 3 streets down. We walked. Each house was silent. Same architecture. No wind, no birds, just quiet. As we turned the corner, we saw it. The meeting house. Taller than the others. Wider. No windows. A single door. No steps. Just a ramp leading up to it. The closer we got, the more wrong. Everything felt. The ramp was soft underfoot, like walking on carpet laid over steel. The house didn't make sound. No creaks. No settling. Just stillness, like it had been placed there from above. We entered without knocking. The door swung open on its own. The inside was blinding white. Fluorescent lights with no fixtures. Walls seamless. A single hallway led forward. We followed it. No markings. No doors. At the end, a chamber. Round. 12 seats forming a circle. Only 6 were occupied. Figures sat in each, motionless. Human, but not. Uncanny. Too still. Too symmetrical. No blinking. No breath. They wore suits, but the same one. Same tie. Same folded hands. "Welcome, Unit 6, one of them said. All 6 voices spoke in unison. "You have arrived during observation cycle 3. Your replication has been confirmed." I stepped forward. Heart pounding. "What do you want from us?" I asked. One of them tilted their head. "You agreed to the terms. You didn't agree to anything." "Unit 6 initiated breach protocol," they said. "Your descent qualified you for advanced interaction. You entered the unauthorized lower level. You triggered the loop. We were trying to leave," my wife snapped. "Exactly," the voices replied. "No one leaves until the board decides." I looked around the chamber. What is this place? The lights dimmed slightly. An observation grid. Stress response replication model. You are not the first. You are the 6th in this sector. The others were incomplete. You, however, are different. I felt heat behind my eyes. Anger, fear, helplessness. "We're not your test subjects," I said. "We're people." The room flickered. "You are variables. Your resistance is valuable." Out. "What happens if we refuse to cooperate?" I asked. The heads turned slightly toward each other. One voice said, "Then the loop continues. Until replacement arrives. Until you break. Or until you become part of the system." I stepped back. My wife clutched my arm. "Then what?" I asked. "You trap another family? Start over." The 6 heads nodded. "All systems require maintenance. Your maintenance. Psychological, structural, synthetic replication is only effective with real anchors. Your anchors." We turned to leave. The door behind us was gone. It's a smooth white wall. One of the figures stood, not walked. Stood as if lifted silently. "You may return to your unit," it said. "But you are being recorded, not just in action, in thought, in deviation. You have already deviated. The loop will adapt." The walls shimmered, like heat rising off pavement. Suddenly we were standing in our living room, not the chamber. No transition. Just snapped him back. The card was gone. The front door locked itself. Right. My phone rebooted with a new home screen. Unit 6 monitored. Phase 4 in progress. The next morning, a neighbor waved at us. First time since we moved in. A woman. Short hair. Gardening gloves. She smiled wide. Too wide. "So glad you stayed," she said. "Most don't make it past the board." Swallowed hard. "You've been here long?" She nodded. "It's loops." "I used to be Unit 3. I froze." "What happened to 3? Her smile twitched. "Burned out. Couldn't keep stability. They rebuilt the whole street. Took 4 days, and you reassigned." "My new family's quieter." She turned. Walked back into her house. The door closed behind her without a sound that night. My wife sat on the couch. staring at the ceiling. "They're waiting for us to break," she whispered. "That's the test." I nodded. "Then we don't." She looked at me. "Think we can beat them?" I looked around at the perfect house. The seamless walls, the repeating schedules, the cold air. "No," I said, "but maybe we can change the test." I held up the old FBI card, still in my pocket. One message just appeared on it. Not on the phone, the card itself, burned into the surface like it had been etched by fire. "We see you. Do not contact outside agencies again." The card caught fire in my hand. Disintegrated into ash. Without heat, I looked out the window. The child was back. But this time he waved, and behind him stood two more figures. Identical height, identical smiles. The loop was expanding, and we were no longer just test subjects. We're becoming part of the pattern.